Marcus didn't just humiliate his pregnant wife at the party. He shaved her head bald in front of 50 people while they laughed and recorded it on their phones. But that wasn't even the worst part. What he did to her after the guests left, which she started bleeding and begging him to take her to the hospital, that's when he stopped being a husband and became something else entirely. A monster dressed in designer clothes. But then what Marcus didn't know, what he couldn't have possibly known, was that Riley's brother, Staff Sergeant Dante Williams, had just landed at Charlotte Douglas International Airport 30 minutes earlier with a duffel bag in one hand and a birthday gift in the other. Dante was coming home to surprise his baby sister. But when he walked through that front door and heard the screams coming from the basement, Marcus Carter's carefully constructed world was about to come crashing down like a house built on lies. That night would become the last time Marcus ever felt in control of anything. And everything that happened next would prove one simple truth: some men protect the people they love, while others destroy the people they think they own. Marcus Carter was about to discover that some men protect their family with everything they have. And when you lock a soldier's pregnant sister in a cage like an animal, when you shave her head for entertainment, when you leave her to die in labor, you don't just face consequences. You face a near-death sentence situation. This is a story about control, about cruelty, about how evil can wear expensive cologne and quote scripture and still be rotten to the core. But to understand how Riley Thompson ended up in that cage, fighting for her life and her baby's life in total darkness, we need to go back to the beginning. Before we dive in, let us know where you're watching from. Drop your city or country in the comments. We want to see how far this story reaches. And listen, if you believe in justice, if you believe monsters should pay for what they do, if you're Team Riley and Team Dante, then you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button. Smash that like button too. Because this story needs to be heard, as it serves as an eye-opener. Open eyes, and they remind people they're not alone. Now, let's go back to where it all started. 3 years ago, Riley Thompson was living exactly the kind of life she'd worked hard to build. She was 27 years old, working as a program coordinator at the West Side Community Center in Charlotte, North Carolina. The pay wasn't great, about $34,000 a year, but Riley didn't measure her life in dollar signs. She measured it in the smiles of kids from rough neighborhoods who finally had a safe place to go after school. She measured it in the thank you notes from single mothers who needed somewhere their children could get homework help and a hot meal. Riley loved those kids like they were her own, and everyone who knew her could see it. Riley had always been careful when it came to relationships. She'd watched too many of her friends fall hard for men who looked good on paper but turned out to be nothing but heartbreak wrapped in empty promises. Her best friend Keisha used to joke that Riley had a PhD in spotting red flags. Riley wanted something real, something solid, something that would last longer than 3 months and a broken heart. She'd been raised by a single mother who worked herself to exhaustion before lupus took her life when Riley was 20 years old. After their mother died, Riley's older brother Dante became everything to her. Father figure, protector, best friend, all rolled into one. Dante was 32, a staff sergeant in the United States Army, stationed overseas doing work he couldn't talk about in places he couldn't name. But no matter where the military sent him, Dante called Riley every single week without fail. He sent care packages. He flew home twice when she went through bad breakups, just to make sure his baby sister was okay. They had the kind of bond that didn't break, no matter the distance. Then one Saturday afternoon in June, Riley met Marcus Carter at a charity gala fundraiser. The event was held at one of those fancy hotel ballrooms downtown, the kind with crystal chandeliers and servers in bow ties carrying trays of champagne. Riley was there representing the community center, hoping to connect with potential donors. She was standing by the silent auction table, looking at a spa package she could never afford, when she felt someone watching her. She turned around and there he was. Marcus Carter walked into that ballroom like he owned the building and maybe the whole city block around it. He was 33 years old, about 6'1", with dark skin that looked like it had never known a blemish, a perfectly trimmed beard, and a smile that could sell ice to someone living in Alaska. He wore a charcoal gray suit that probably cost more than Riley's monthly rent, shoes so shiny you could see your reflection, and a watch that caught the light every time he moved his wrist. Everything about Marcus screamed success, confidence, power. He made his way through the crowd with ease, shaking hands, laughing at jokes, looking completely comfortable in a room full of Charlotte's elite. When Marcus approached Riley, his opening line wasn't about her looks or her dress. Instead, he said something that caught her completely off guard. "You must be Riley Thompson from the West Side Center." I've heard incredible things about the work you do with those kids. Riley blinked in surprise. You've heard about our program? Marcus smiled, and it was warm, genuine, disarming. I make it my business to know who's actually making a difference in this city instead of just talking about it. Pastor Jenkins told me you're the heart of that place. Said you have a gift for seeing potential in kids everyone else has given up on. They talked for 3 hours straight that night. Marcus told her about growing up in a rough neighborhood himself, about his mother working 3 jobs to put him through community college, about building his freight logistics company from absolutely nothing into something that now employed 47 people. He quoted scripture naturally, not like he was performing but like he actually believed what he was saying. He talked about wanting to build a stable home, about the importance of family, about being a provider and protector. He asked Riley about her dreams, her goals, her passion for helping kids. He listened when she talked, really listened, nodding and asking follow-up questions that showed he was paying attention to every word. By the time the gala ended, Riley had given Marcus her phone number. Within a week, he was texting her good morning and good night every single day. Within 2 weeks, he'd taken her to a restaurant downtown where the waiters wore tuxedos and the menu didn't have prices listed. Within a month, he was bringing flowers to her workplace, meeting her for lunch, calling just to hear her voice. He was attentive in ways Riley had never experienced before. He remembered small details she mentioned in passing. He showed up when he said he would. He opened doors, pulled out chairs, paid for everything without making her feel small about it. Marcus made Riley feel special, chosen, like she was the only woman in the world who mattered. 3 months into their relationship, Marcus told Riley he loved her. 6 months in, he asked her to meet his mother. 8 months in, during Thanksgiving dinner with Riley's entire extended family crowded around the table, Marcus got down on one knee and pulled out a ring. The diamond was enormous, 3 carats, princess cut, set in a platinum band that probably cost more than Riley made in 6 months. Her aunts gasped. Her cousins squealed. Her father, who'd stepped into that role after Riley's mother died, shook Marcus's hand hard and said, "You take care of my girl." Marcus looked Riley's father right in the eye and said, "Sir, I promise you I will protect her with my life." Everyone applauded. Everyone celebrated. Everyone was happy. Everyone except Dante. Riley's brother had managed to get leave and fly home 2 weeks before the wedding. The night he arrived, the whole family gathered at Riley's father's house for dinner. Marcus was there, charming as ever, telling stories that made everyone laugh, complimenting the food, offering to help clean up. But after dessert, Dante pulled Riley aside into the kitchen while everyone else was in the living room watching a game. "Riley," Dante said quietly, his voice serious in that way that always made Riley pay attention. "I need to talk to you about Marcus." Riley felt her defenses go up immediately. "Dante, please don't start." "I'm not starting anything. I'm asking, do you really know this man?" "I know him better than I've ever known anyone." Dante's jaw tightened. "You've known him less than a year. Daddy proposed to Mama after 6 months. You going to tell me that wasn't real?" Her brother's expression didn't change. That was different. "How?" Riley demanded. "Because something about him doesn't sit right with me. The way he talks, the way he moves, it's all too smooth, too perfect. Like he's playing a role." Riley crossed her arms. "Or maybe he's just a good man who actually knows how to treat a woman right. You ever think about that?" Dante grabbed her hand gently. "Naomi, listen to me. I've been trained to read people. It's literally part of my job. I've been in situations where reading someone wrong gets people killed. And when I look at Marcus, I see someone who's performing. I see someone who's showing you exactly what you want to see." Riley pulled her hand away. "You're wrong." "I hope I am. I really do. But if I'm not, if something ever happens, you call me. I don't care where I am or what I'm doing. You call me and I will come home. You understand?" Riley wanted to argue more, but something in Dante's eyes stopped her. Instead, she just nodded and changed the subject. The wedding happened 4 weeks later. It was small, intimate, exactly what Riley wanted. Dante couldn't get additional leave, so he attended via video call, his face on a tablet propped up in the front row. Riley wished more than anything that her brother could be there in person, but she understood. The military didn't stop for weddings. When the pastor said, "You may kiss your bride," Marcus held Riley's face so gently and kissed her like she was made of something precious and fragile. That night, lying in the honeymoon suite of a hotel overlooking the city, Marcus held Riley close and whispered, "You're mine now, Riley. Forever mine." Riley smiled, wrapped in his arms, thinking she was the luckiest woman alive. She had no idea that mine wasn't a promise. It was a warning. The changes started small. 2 months after the wedding, Marcus brought up the subject of Riley's job over dinner. They were sitting in the dining room of the house Marcus had bought in a gated community called Meadow Ridge, eating salmon that Riley had cooked. "Baby," Marcus said, putting down his fork and reaching across the table to take her hand. "I've been thinking. Why are you still working at the community center?" Riley looked up, confused. "What do you mean?" "I mean, you're my wife now. I make over $400,000 a year. You're coming home exhausted every day, stressed out, worn down. That's not what I want for you. But I love my job, Marcus. Those kids need me. I know you love it, and that's beautiful. That's one of the things I fell in love with about you. But think about it practically. We're going to start a family soon, right? Wouldn't it be better if you could focus on making our home perfect, on being ready for when we have children? You could rest, take care of yourself, take care of me." He smiled that smile that still made Riley's stomach flutter. "Let me take care of you, baby. That's what a husband is supposed to do." It sounded so reasonable when Marcus said it like that. So loving, so protective. Riley thought about it for a week. She talked to Keisha, who said, "Girl, if my man could afford to let me stay home, I'd quit tomorrow. You're lucky." She talked to her aunt, who said, "That's what marriage is supposed to look like, honey. Let that man be the man." She didn't talk to Dante. He was deployed again somewhere in the Middle East, and their communication had been spotty since the wedding. So Riley gave her 2 weeks' notice at the West Side Community Center. The kids cried on her last day. Her supervisor tried to talk her out of it, saying they needed her, but Riley's mind was made up. Marcus picked her up on her last day with flowers and a bottle of champagne in the car. "I'm so proud of you," he said, kissing her forehead. "This is just the beginning of our beautiful life together." For the first month, it was beautiful. Riley spent her days making the house perfect, learning new recipes, starting a small garden in the backyard. Marcus would come home and praise her cooking, compliment how clean the house was, tell her how lucky he was. They'd watch movies together, take walks around the neighborhood, make love like they were still on their honeymoon. But slowly, things started to shift. It started with the finances. Marcus had always handled the bills, but now he suggested they consolidate everything into one account. His account. "It's easier this way," he explained one night while they were getting ready for bed. "Everything in one place. I'll give you a debit card and you can get whatever you need. But this way I can track our spending, make sure we're saving for the future." "What about my savings account?" Riley asked. She had $12,400 saved up from years of working. Marcus smiled. "Transfer it over, baby. We're married. What's mine is yours and what's yours is mine, right? That's how this works." Riley transferred the money the next day. A week after that, Riley woke up one morning and her car was gone. Her 2016 Honda Accord, the car she'd saved up for and bought herself, was just gone from the driveway. She found Marcus in the kitchen drinking coffee. "Where's my car?" Riley asked, trying to keep her voice calm. "I sold it," Marcus said casually, not even looking up from his phone. "You what?" "Baby, you don't need 2 cars sitting in the driveway. You're home all day, and when you need to go somewhere, you can use the Mercedes. I already added you to the insurance. Plus, I got a great price for it. Put the money toward our savings." "But you didn't ask me," Riley said, her voice rising slightly. "I didn't think I needed to. It was just sitting there losing value. I was thinking about our future." Marcus finally looked up at her, and his expression was patient, like he was explaining something simple to a child. "Baby, trust me. I know what I'm doing." Then came the comments about her appearance. Riley had gained maybe 5 pounds since the wedding, normal for a newly married woman who was cooking more and moving less. But Marcus noticed. "That dress is looking a little tight, don't you think?" he said one evening as they were getting ready to go to dinner with his business associates. "You've been putting on some weight. Maybe you should skip dessert tonight." Riley felt her face get hot. "I've gained like 5 pounds, Marcus." "I know, and I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. I'm trying to help you. You used to take better care of yourself before we got married. I'm just saying maybe you should watch what you're eating." The comments continued. Little digs about her body, her clothes, her appearance, always delivered with a smile, always followed by, "I'm just trying to help you be your best self." Riley started skipping meals. She started weighing herself every morning, obsessing over every pound. She started feeling ashamed of her body in ways she never had before. Then Marcus started working on her friendships. Keisha called one afternoon, wanting to meet for lunch. Riley was excited. She hadn't seen her best friend in weeks. But when she mentioned it to Marcus that evening, his face changed. "Keisha? The one who's always jumping from man to man." Riley frowned. "That's not fair, Marcus." "Baby, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just saying you are who you surround yourself with. Keisha is single, messy, always in some drama. Now that you're a married woman, don't you think you should have friends who understand that lifestyle? Friends who can relate to what you're building. She's been my friend since high school. And I'm sure she's a nice person. But I've seen how she looks at me, how she asks questions about our business. Some people don't want to see you happy, Riley. They want to pull you back down to their level." Riley canceled lunch with Keisha. Then she canceled the next one. And the next one. Eventually, Keisha stopped calling. The same thing happened with Riley's cousin Jasmine, with her study group from church, with every friend she had. Marcus always had a reason why each person was bad for her, why they were toxic, why they didn't have Riley's best interests at heart. And he said it all so gently, so lovingly, like he was protecting her from people who would hurt her. Within 6 months of quitting her job, Riley had no friends left. Then Marcus started controlling her phone. One night, Riley was texting her father when Marcus looked over her shoulder. "Why do you have a passcode on your phone?" he asked. Riley looked up, surprised. "What? Your phone. It has a passcode. Why? We're married. We shouldn't have secrets." "It's not about secrets. It's just private." Marcus's face fell, and he looked genuinely hurt. "Private from your husband? Riley, that breaks my heart. I give you access to everything. My phone, my accounts, my whole life. But you need privacy from me." The guilt hit Riley like a wave. "No, baby, I'm sorry. You're right." She gave him her passcode. Within a week, Marcus had installed a tracking app on her phone. "It's for safety," he explained. "So I always know where you are. What if something happened to you? What if there was an emergency? This way, I can always find you." It sounded reasonable. It sounded like love. Riley didn't realize she was being erased piece by piece until it was almost too late. She was sitting at home one Tuesday afternoon, and she suddenly realized she hadn't left the house in 4 days. Hadn't talked to anyone except Marcus. Didn't have access to money unless she asked him. Didn't have her own car. Didn't have friends to call. Didn't have anywhere to go. She walked through the beautiful house, the house that was supposed to be her dream, and it felt like a museum. Perfect, cold, empty. That night, Riley tried to talk to Marcus about maybe taking a part-time job, just something to get out of the house a few days a week. Marcus looked at her like she'd slapped him. "A job? What, am I not providing enough for you?" "No, baby, it's not that. I just miss working. Miss being around people. You're around me. I know, but I'm not enough." His voice went cold in a way Riley had never heard before. "That's what you're saying. Your husband, your home, your marriage, none of it's enough for you." "Marcus, that's not what I meant." "Then what did you mean, Riley? Because it sounds like you're ungrateful. It sounds like you don't appreciate everything I've done for you, everything I've given you." The argument lasted 2 hours. By the end of it, Riley was crying, apologizing, promising she'd never bring it up again. Marcus held her and stroked her hair and told her he forgave her, but she needed to understand that he was the head of the household and he knew what was best. That night, Riley lay in bed staring at the ceiling, and for the first time since she'd met Marcus Carter, she felt afraid. But the worst part, the part that made her stomach turn, was that she didn't know who she was afraid of. Her husband, who had just made her feel small and ungrateful, or herself for letting things get this far. 3 weeks later, Riley discovered she was pregnant. She sat on the bathroom floor staring at the positive test, feeling a strange mix of emotions. Joy, because she'd always wanted to be a mother. Terror, because something deep in her gut told her this was about to make everything worse. But then a small hopeful voice whispered in her head, maybe this will fix things. Maybe a baby will soften him. Maybe he'll go back to being the man she married. She told Marcus that night over dinner. His face went completely blank. You're pregnant. Yes, baby. We're going to have a baby. Marcus stood up from the table without a word and walked out of the room. Riley sat there confused, hurt, the pasta getting cold on her plate. When Marcus came back 20 minutes later, his face was composed, but his eyes were different. Harder. How far along? The test just says positive. Maybe 6 weeks. And you're sure it's mine? The question hit Riley like a punch to the stomach. What? Marcus, how could you even? I'm just asking. You're home alone all day. How do I know what you do when I'm not here? Riley couldn't breathe. I can't believe you just said that to me. Don't get emotional. I'm being logical. But fine. I believe you. He sat back down, picked up his fork like nothing had happened. We'll deal with it. Deal with it. Not we're having a baby. Not I'm going to be a father. Deal with it. Like Riley was a problem to be managed. That night was the first time Marcus didn't come to bed. He slept in the guest room, and when Riley woke up in the morning, he was already gone to work. The pregnancy was hard from the beginning. Riley had morning sickness that lasted all day. She couldn't keep food down for weeks. She lost weight instead of gaining it. Her back hurt constantly. She'd get dizzy standing up too fast. Some days she was so exhausted she could barely get out of bed. And Marcus acted like she didn't exist. He stopped asking how she felt. Stopped touching her. Would come home from work, eat whatever she'd managed to cook despite feeling nauseous, and disappear into his home office for hours. Some nights he didn't come home at all. He'd text her that he had to work late, that he was staying at a hotel near a job site. But Riley could hear voices in the background when he called, music, laughter. He wasn't at work. The first doctor's appointment, Marcus promised he'd be there. Riley got dressed in her best maternity dress, did her makeup, waited by the door. The appointment was at 2 in the afternoon. By 1:45, she called him. Baby, are you on your way? There was a long pause. She could hear voices in the background, music, laughter. On my way where? The doctor. The ultrasound. You said you'd come. Another pause. Riley, I can't just drop everything because you have an appointment. I have a business to run. But you promised. Well, things change. You're a grown woman. You can go to the doctor by yourself. He hung up. Riley stood there holding the phone, feeling tears burn her eyes. She called an Uber with the debit card Marcus had given her, the one she needed permission to use for anything over $50. The ride to the clinic cost $32. She felt guilty the whole way there. At the appointment, the nurse asked, "Is Dad coming?" Riley forced a smile. He had to work. The nurse gave her a look that said she'd heard that excuse before, but didn't push it. When Riley saw her baby on the ultrasound screen for the first time, saw that tiny heartbeat flickering like a miracle, she started crying. The technician smiled warmly and printed out pictures for her. Riley held those grainy black and white images like they were made of gold. When she got home, she showed them to Marcus excitedly. Look, baby. You can see the head right here. And that's, Marcus glanced at them for half a second. That's nice, he said, and went back to his phone. Riley's hand dropped to her side, the ultrasound pictures trembling in her fingers. That was the moment something inside her started to crack. The second appointment, Marcus didn't even pretend he was coming. The third appointment, he was supposed to drive her, but he left the house at 6 in the morning and didn't answer his phone all day. Riley had to cancel because she couldn't get there without a car. By the 4th month of pregnancy, Marcus had moved into the guest room permanently. You're restless at night, he said. You keep me awake. I need my sleep for work. Riley would lie in their king-sized bed alone, her hand on her growing belly, feeling her baby kick, and wonder how her dream life had turned into this nightmare. She tried to reach out to Dante, but their communication was difficult. He was on some kind of classified mission, and emails were sporadic. She'd send him messages trying to sound upbeat, not wanting to worry him when he was so far away dealing with his own dangerous situations. She was desperate to hear his voice, but the time difference and his unpredictable schedule made it nearly impossible. Finally, one night at 11, her phone rang. Dante. Nana, he said, using his childhood nickname for her. His voice sounded tired but warm. I got your emails. How's my nephew or niece doing? Riley burst into tears. Naomi. Dante's voice changed immediately. Naomi, what's wrong? I'm fine, she choked out. I'm just emotional. Hormones, you know. Don't lie to me. What's going on? She wanted to tell him everything. Wanted to tell him that Marcus barely looked at her anymore. That she was alone in this big house. That she was scared. That Dante had been right about everything. But what would he do? He was thousands of miles away. If she told him, he'd probably try to come home early and get in trouble with the military. And what if she was overreacting? What if this was just normal marriage stuff and she was being dramatic? I'm okay, Riley whispered. Really? I just miss you. I miss you too, sis. Listen, I should be home in about 4 months. I'll be there before the baby comes. I promise. For months felt like forever. Okay, Riley said. Riley, if something's wrong, you need to tell me. Nothing's wrong. I love you. I love you too. After they hung up, Riley sat in the dark bedroom and cried until she had no tears left. The next day, everything got worse. Riley woke up around noon. She'd been so exhausted lately, sleeping later and later. She got up to use the bathroom and heard Marcus's voice downstairs. He was home in the middle of the day, which was unusual. She started to head down to say hello, but something in his tone made her stop at the top of the stairs. He was on the phone, pacing in the living room, and he sounded angry. I know, he was saying. No, I can't just leave. She's pregnant. Riley's blood went cold. Yes, she's pregnant. I'm stuck for now, but I'll handle it. There was a pause. It's not about her, baby. It's never been about her. You know that. This whole thing is just a complication. Riley's hand flew to her mouth. No, listen to me. After the baby comes, I'll figure something out. Maybe she'll have complications during delivery. Maybe we can work something out where she signs over custody and disappears. I just need you to trust me. Riley felt like she was going to be sick. Yes, I love you. You're the only one I love. She was just convenient. A placeholder. But you're everything. There was another pause. I know. I miss you too. Tomorrow night, same place. I'll be there. He hung up. Riley stood frozen at the top of the stairs, her whole world crumbling around her. Marcus had someone else. Had always had someone else. And he was talking about Riley like she was garbage, like their baby was a problem to be handled. She must have made a sound, some small gasp or sob, because Marcus's head snapped up. He saw her standing there, saw the look on her face, and his expression didn't even change. No guilt, no shame, just annoyance. How long have you been standing there? He asked. Riley's voice came out broken. Who were you talking to? That's none of your business. You're my husband. You're on the phone telling some woman that I'm convenient, that our baby is a complication, and you're telling me it's none of my business. Marcus walked toward the stairs slowly, deliberately. You want to know? Fine. Her name is Simone. She's a senior project manager at one of the construction firms I work with. Beautiful, successful, child-free by choice, and we've been together for 3 years. The number hit Riley like a physical blow. 3 years. But we've only been married for 14 months. Yeah. I was with her before I met you. I'm still with her now. Riley grabbed the banister to keep from falling. Then why did you marry me? Marcus shrugged like he was explaining something obvious. Because she didn't want to get married. She wanted to focus on her career, and I needed a wife for business purposes. Clients like a stable married man. Plus, my mother kept asking when I was going to settle down. He said it so casually, like he was describing a business transaction. You were perfect, Riley. Sweet, naive, easy to control. You looked good on my arm at company events. You didn't ask too many questions. You were exactly what I needed until you got pregnant. Riley felt like she couldn't breathe. You don't love me. Love. Marcus actually laughed. Riley, I needed a home base. Someone to cook and clean and look respectable. You filled that role just fine until you ruined it. I'm having your baby. I didn't want that baby. Simone made it clear that if you have this child, she's done with me. And I'm not losing her for you. He was at the top of the stairs now, inches from Riley. You're a liability, Riley. A mistake I need to manage until I can figure out a clean exit. Riley's whole body was shaking. I want a divorce. Marcus's face darkened. You want a what? A divorce. I'm not staying married to someone who treats me like this. You're not going anywhere. His voice dropped to something dangerous, something Riley had never heard before. You have no money, no car, no job, no friends. Where exactly are you going to go, Riley? Back to your dead mother? To your brother who's in Afghanistan? I'll figure it out. No, you won't. Marcus grabbed her arm, hard enough to hurt. You're going to stay right here, keep your mouth shut, and play the good little wife until I decide what to do with you. Do you understand me? Riley tried to pull away. Let go of me. I own you. This house, your food, your clothes, everything you have is because of me. You're nothing without me. Marcus, you're hurting me. He let go, pushing her away. Riley stumbled, catching herself against the wall, her hand instinctively going to her belly. Don't test me, Marcus said quietly. You have no idea what I'm capable of. Then he walked down the stairs, grabbed his keys, and left. Riley slid down the wall and sat on the floor of the hallway, her whole body shaking, her hand on her belly, feeling her baby kick. She had to get out. Had to get help. But when she went to look for her phone, it wasn't in her purse. She searched the bedroom, the bathroom, the kitchen. Her phone was gone. Then she remembered Marcus had been using it yesterday, said his phone was dead and he needed to check something. He must have taken it with him. Riley went to the landline in the kitchen to call someone, anyone. But when she picked up the receiver, there was no dial tone. The line was dead. She tried the computer in Marcus's office. Password protected. She tried every combination she could think of. Nothing worked. She went to the front door, turned the handle. Locked. Not just locked, but the kind of lock that needed a key even from the inside. She ran to the back door. Same thing. The garage door. Locked. Every window on the first floor had security locks that required a key. Marcus had locked her in. Riley stood in the middle of the living room, in the beautiful house that had become her prison, carrying a baby from a man who saw her as nothing but a liability, and realized she was completely, utterly trapped. She had no phone, no computer, no way to contact the outside world. No money, no car, no friends to check on her because Marcus had systematically cut them all off. The only person who would think to look for her was Dante, and he was on the other side of the world. Riley sank to the floor and wrapped her arms around her belly. I'm so sorry, she whispered to her baby. I'm so sorry. She didn't know how she was going to get out. She didn't know if she was going to get out. And that's when the real nightmare began. The next 4 months were hell. Marcus came and went as he pleased. Sometimes he'd be gone for days at a time. Sometimes he'd come home late at night smelling like perfume that wasn't Riley's. He'd unlock the doors when he needed to, then lock them again when he left. He started rationing Riley's food, would leave her just enough groceries for a few days, nothing extra. If she ate too much, he'd punish her by leaving less the next time. You're getting fat anyway, he'd say. Baby weight is one thing, but you're letting yourself go. He controlled the thermostat. In the cold months, he'd turn the heat down to 60 degrees before leaving for days. He took back the debit card he'd given her. You're not responsible enough to handle money. Riley's belly grew. The baby kicked stronger every day. She talked to her unborn child constantly, promising things would get better, promising they'd find a way out, but she was losing hope fast. She tried breaking a window once. Marcus had installed some kind of reinforced glass. She hit it with a lamp and it didn't even crack. All she got was a bruised hand and Marcus's fury when he came home and saw what she'd tried to do. He didn't hit her. He was too smart for that. But he took away her mattress that night. Made her sleep on the floor of the bedroom for a week. Maybe discomfort will teach you not to destroy my property, he said. By the 8th month, Riley barely recognized herself in the mirror. Her eyes were hollow. Her hair was falling out from stress. Her spirit was broken. She tried to hold on to hope, tried to believe that somehow things would work out, but every day that hope got smaller and smaller. Then one night, Riley woke up at 2 in the morning to a pain so sharp it took her breath away. She gasped, clutching her belly. Another pain came, and another. Then she felt it, warm liquid running down her legs. Her water had broken. She was in labor, 3 weeks early, and she was completely alone. Riley pulled herself out of bed, her legs shaking, wetness soaking through her nightgown. Another contraction hit, and she had to grab the bedpost to keep from falling. The pain was like nothing she'd ever felt before, like her body was being torn in half from the inside. "Marcus!" she screamed. "Marcus, I need help." She stumbled to the bedroom door, opened it, looked down the dark hallway. A light was on downstairs. He was home. Thank God, he was home. Marcus. She started down the stairs, gripping the railing with both hands. Another contraction hit halfway down and she had to stop, breathing through it, tears streaming down her face. "Marcus, please. The baby's coming." She made it to the bottom of the stairs and saw him in the living room, sitting on the couch, fully dressed in slacks and a button-down shirt like he was about to go somewhere. At 2 in the morning. His phone was on the coffee table, on speaker. A woman's voice was coming through, high-pitched and angry. "I don't care what you promised, Marcus. You said you'd be here tonight. You said we'd go to Miami this weekend. But no, you're still there with her, playing house like I don't exist." Riley stood there in shock, another contraction building. Marcus looked at her with pure annoyance on his face. "Marcus," Riley gasped. "I'm in labor. We need to go to the hospital. Now." "Is that her?" The woman's voice came through the speaker, sharp as glass. "Is she there right now?" Marcus picked up the phone but didn't take it off speaker. "Baby, I'll call you back." "No. Don't you dare hang up on me. What's going on?" "She says she's in labor." "She says?" the woman repeated mockingly. "You mean she's not?" Riley doubled over as another contraction hit, this one stronger than the last. She could feel the baby moving down, could feel her body preparing to push. "Marcus, please," she begged. "Something's wrong. The contractions are too close together. We need to go now." "You hear that?" The woman's voice was venomous. "She's trying to trap you. She probably isn't even really in labor. This is just her way of getting attention, of making sure you don't come see me." "I know," Marcus said calmly, and those 2 words made Riley's blood run cold. "Marcus." Riley screamed. "I'm not lying. Look at me." He looked. Saw the water staining her nightgown, saw her pale face, her shaking hands. His expression didn't change at all. "If she has that baby tonight," the woman on the phone said, her voice cold and clear, "if you take her to that hospital and that baby is born, I'm done with you. Do you hear me? Done. I will walk away and you will never see me again." "I know," Marcus said again. "I mean it, Marcus. It's me or her. Choose right now." Riley's knees buckled. She caught herself on the arm of a chair, breathing hard, the pain so intense she couldn't think straight. "Marcus, I'm begging you. Please. Our baby." "Stop calling it our baby," he snapped. "I never wanted it." Another contraction ripped through Riley and she screamed, the sound tearing from her throat. "Is she really in labor?" the woman asked, and for the first time there was a hint of uncertainty in her voice. "Looks like it," Marcus said flatly. "Then take her to the hospital and leave her there. Drop her at the emergency entrance and leave. You don't have to stay, baby." "I can't do that. There's paperwork, insurance questions. They'd want me to stay." Then what are you going to do? The woman demanded. Because I swear to God, Marcus, if you choose her. I'm not choosing her, Marcus interrupted. I could never choose her over you. You know that. Riley tried to straighten up, tried to walk toward him. Marcus, please. Whatever problems we have, we can deal with later. But right now, our baby needs medical help. I need medical help. Please. Marcus stood up, and for one hopeful second, Riley thought he was going to help her. Instead, he walked right past her toward the door that led to the garage. Where are you going? Riley called after him, panic rising in her voice. He didn't answer. Just opened the garage door and disappeared inside. Riley heard sounds, movement, something heavy being dragged across concrete. Marcus. The woman's voice came from the phone still on the couch. Marcus, what are you doing? Riley stumbled toward the garage door, another contraction hitting so hard she had to lean against the wall. Through the open door, she could see Marcus in the garage, moving something large from the corner. It was a cage. A big steel cage, the kind used for large dogs. Riley remembered Marcus mentioning he used to have German shepherds for security before they got married, before he got rid of them. The cage had been in the garage since she'd moved in, covered with a tarp in the corner. She'd never thought about it. Marcus was dragging it to the center of the garage floor. Marcus, Riley's voice came out weak, confused. What are you doing? He turned to look at her, and his eyes were empty. Completely, totally empty. I'm handling the problem, he said flatly. What? You're not ruining my life tonight, Riley. You're not going to that hospital. You're not having that baby and trapping me into being a father. Simone said choose, and I choose her. I've always chosen her. Riley couldn't process what she was hearing, couldn't make sense of it. Marcus, I don't understand. What are you? Get in the garage. What? I said get in the garage. Now. No. No, Marcus. I need to go to the hospital. The baby, get in the garage, Riley. Another contraction hit and Riley screamed, dropping to her knees. Through the pain, she heard the woman's voice from the phone in the living room. Marcus, baby, what's happening? Talk to me. Marcus walked back into the living room, picked up his phone. I'm taking care of it. Taking care of what? I'll call you when it's done. When what's done? But he'd already hung up. Then Marcus grabbed Riley's arm and started dragging her. No. Riley tried to pull away, but she was weak from months of poor eating, weak from pregnancy, weak from pain. Marcus, stop. Please. He pulled her through the garage door, past his Mercedes that sat there shining and perfect, past the walls lined with his expensive tools, past the door to the backyard that had a working lock she could have used to escape if she could just reach it. He dragged her to the cage. Marcus, please, please don't do this. Riley was sobbing now, clutching her belly. Whatever you're thinking, please. Shut up. He opened the cage door. The metal creaked. Get in. No. I'm in labor. The baby's coming. You can't, I said get in. He shoved her hard and Riley fell forward into the cage. Her hands hit the cold metal floor. Another contraction seized her and she cried out in agony. Behind her, she heard the cage door slam shut. The lock clicked. Marcus. She turned, grabbed the bars, pulled herself up to her knees. Marcus, don't do this. Please. I'm begging you. He stood there looking at her, his face showing nothing. No anger, no guilt, no emotion at all. You should have never gotten pregnant, he said quietly. Everything was fine until you ruined it. It takes two people to make a baby, Riley gasped. I didn't want this. I never wanted this. I told Simone I'd handle it, and that's what I'm doing. Riley pulled at the bars, shaking the cage, her voice breaking. What are you going to do? Just leave me here? I'm having a baby. I could die. The baby could die. That's not my problem anymore. The words hit her like ice water. You're a monster, she whispered. No. I'm just a man who made a mistake and is correcting it. He walked to the wall and hit the light switch. The garage went dark. Completely, totally dark. Marcus. Riley screamed. Marcus, please. Please don't leave me here. She heard his footsteps walking away. Heard the door to the house close. Heard the lock click. And then there was nothing but darkness and silence and pain. Riley rattled the cage door, pulled on it with everything she had, but it wouldn't budge. The lock was solid, heavy-duty. The cage was built for dogs over 100 pounds. She had no chance. Another contraction hit, and she screamed into the darkness, her voice echoing off the garage walls. She was locked in a cage in labor alone, and the man who had promised to love and protect her had just walked away and left her to suffer. Riley curled up on the cold metal floor of the cage, her arms wrapped around her belly, and sobbed. "Please God," she whispered. "Please help me. Please help my baby. Please send Dante. Please." But the garage stayed dark and nobody came. Time stopped meaning anything. Riley didn't know if she'd been in the cage for an hour or 4 hours or 10. There was no light, no way to see, no way to know. Just darkness and pain and the cold metal beneath her. The contractions kept coming, harder and closer together. She tried to breathe through them like she'd read about in the pregnancy books she bought months ago, back when she still thought Marcus would be holding her hand through labor, telling her she was doing great, being a real husband. Now she was alone in a dog cage, bleeding and terrified. She felt wetness between her legs, sticky and warm. Blood. Too much blood. Something was wrong. She could feel it. The baby wasn't moving as much anymore. The strong kicks that had kept her company for months were getting weaker, more sporadic. "Please, baby," she whispered in the darkness. "Please hold on. Please stay with me. Mama's here. Mama's got you." But Riley didn't have anything. Riley was locked in a cage like an animal, helpless, powerless, dying. Another contraction ripped through her and Riley screamed, the sound bouncing off the garage walls and coming back to her, making the nightmare feel even more real. She tried to shift position, but the cage was maybe 4 feet by 3 feet, barely big enough for her to move. Her legs were cramping. Her back was agony. Her hands were gripping the metal bars, so hard her knuckles ached. Then she heard something. A sound. The door from the house to the garage opening. "Marcus," she called out, her voice hoarse from screaming. "Marcus, please. Please help me." Light flooded the garage, so bright after the darkness that Riley had to squeeze her eyes shut. When she opened them, she saw Marcus standing in the doorway, looking at her with that same empty expression. He had his phone in his hand. He walked closer to the cage and Riley reached through the bars toward him. "Please. Please let me out. I'll do anything. I'll leave. I'll sign divorce papers. I'll disappear. Just please let me go to the hospital. The baby, hold still," he said. "What?" He raised his phone and took a picture. The flash was blinding. Riley stared at him in disbelief. Did you just take a picture of me?" He took another one. Then another. Different angles. Riley huddled in the cage, covered in sweat and blood and tears, in the most degrading moment of her life, and Marcus was photographing it. "What are you doing?" Riley's voice rose in pitch, hysteria creeping in. "Are you seriously taking pictures right now? I'm having a baby in a cage and you're—" Marcus looked at his phone screen, scrolling through the photos. Then he started typing. "Are you texting someone?" Riley couldn't believe what she was seeing. "Are you seriously texting right now?" "Simone wanted proof," he said casually, like it was the most normal thing in the world. The words didn't make sense at first. Then they did, and Riley felt something inside her break completely. "You're sending her pictures of me like this." She thought I might not go through with it. She wanted to make sure you couldn't escape. "Go through with what? Locking me in a cage? Letting me die?" "You're not going to die. Stop being dramatic. You'll have the baby, and then we'll figure out what to do." "What do you mean, Marcus?" "I need a hospital. I need a doctor. I'm bleeding." Every woman bleeds during labor. It's normal. This isn't normal. Nothing about this is normal. You've lost your mind. His phone buzzed. He looked at it and smiled. Actually smiled. Then he turned the phone toward her. Riley could see a text message on the screen from someone named Simone. "Good. Let her suffer. She deserves it for trapping you." Below that, "I love you, baby. Come to my place when you're done. I'll make it worth your while. Marcus laughed. A real laugh, warm and genuine, the kind of laugh he used to give Riley when they first met. But he was laughing at her suffering. He was laughing while she bled in a cage. He typed back, "On my way soon. Love you too." Then he looked at Riley one more time, and there was nothing in his eyes. No recognition, no humanity, like she wasn't even a person to him anymore. "You're not ruining my life tonight," he said. Then he turned off the light and walked away. The garage went dark again. Riley heard the door close, heard the lock click, and she understood finally, completely, that Marcus was going to let her die here. He was going to leave her locked in this cage, in labor, bleeding, and go be with his mistress. He was going to let her and the baby die so he could be free. Another contraction hit, the worst one yet, and Riley felt something shift inside her. The baby was coming. Not in hours. In minutes. She was going to give birth in a dog cage, in the dark, alone. "God," she sobbed. "God, please. Please help me. Please send someone. Anyone. Please don't let my baby die like this. Please." She thought about Dante. Somewhere on the other side of the world, her brother was probably sleeping, completely unaware that his sister was dying. She'd never see him again. Never get to tell him he was right about Marcus. Never get to say goodbye. She thought about her mother, dead from lupus 5 years ago, and wondered if she was watching from heaven, if she was crying for her daughter. She thought about all the choices she'd made that led her here. Quitting her job. Isolating herself from friends. Giving Marcus control of everything. Ignoring every red flag, every warning sign. "I'm sorry," she whispered to her baby. "I'm so sorry I brought you into this. I'm so sorry I wasn't stronger. I'm so sorry." The baby kicked, weak but present. Still alive. Still fighting. Riley put both hands on her belly and made a decision. If these were her last moments, if she was going to die in this cage, she was going to spend them talking to her child, giving her baby love in whatever time they had left. "I love you," she whispered into the darkness. "I love you so much. You are wanted. You are precious. You are a gift. And if you make it and I don't, I need you to know that none of this is your fault. None of it. Your mama loved you from the first moment she knew you existed." Another contraction. The pressure was unbearable now. Riley could feel the baby moving down, could feel her body preparing to push. "Please be strong," she whispered. "Please be a fighter. Please survive this." She prayed. Whispered every prayer she could remember from childhood, from church, from her mother's lips. She prayed in the darkness, bleeding and broken, begging God for a miracle she didn't believe was coming. Time passed. Seconds, minutes, hours, she didn't know. The contractions were constant now, no break between them. Riley was screaming, couldn't help it. The pain was beyond anything human should have to endure. She felt the baby crowning, felt her body tearing, felt warm blood pooling beneath her. This was it. This was how she died. Giving birth in a cage like an animal while her husband entertained his mistress. Riley closed her eyes and prepared for the end. And then she heard something. A sound outside. Distant but distinct. A car door slamming. Footsteps on the driveway. Someone was here. "Help!" Riley screamed with everything she had left. "Help me! I'm in the garage. Please help!" The footsteps stopped. Then they started again, faster, running. Someone was trying the front door. "I'm in the garage." Riley screamed again. "Please!" The garage. She heard movement around the side of the house. Someone trying the side gate. It was locked. Then she heard something that made her heart almost stop. A voice. Deep, male, familiar. "Riley." It couldn't be. It wasn't possible. "Riley. Where are you?" "Dante." Her voice came out as a broken sob. "Dante. I'm here. I'm in the garage. I'm here, sis. I'm here. Where are you?" "The garage. I'm locked in the garage. Please." She heard him trying the garage door. It was locked, the electronic opener disabled from inside. She heard him curse, then heard a tremendous crash as he kicked at the door. Once, twice, 3 times. The door wasn't budging. The side gate. Riley called. Go through the side gate. It leads to the backyard. There's a door. She heard him running. Heard another crash as he kicked through the wooden side gate. Heard his footsteps running through the backyard. Then the door from the backyard into the garage flew open and light from the motion sensor security lights flooded in. And there he was. Dante Williams stood in the doorway in full military fatigues, duffel bag dropped on the ground behind him, his face a mask of confusion and horror. His eyes found Riley in the cage and time stopped. Riley saw her brother's face change. Saw confusion turn to shock, turn to understanding, turn to rage. Pure, absolute rage. Riley, he whispered. Then louder, Riley. He ran to the cage, dropped to his knees, grabbed the bars. What? Who did this? Who put you in here? Dante, Riley was crying so hard she could barely speak. The baby's coming. I'm in labor. Please get me out. Please. Dante's hands were shaking as he examined the lock. Heavy-duty padlock, the key nowhere in sight. He pulled on it, tried to break it. It wouldn't budge. Hold on, sis. Hold on. He looked around frantically, saw Marcus's tool wall, ran to it, grabbed a crowbar, came back, and jammed it into the lock mechanism. Dante, hurry. Please hurry. He pulled with all his strength. The crowbar bent. The lock held. He threw it down, grabbed bolt cutters instead, positioned them on the lock shank, and squeezed with everything he had. The lock snapped. The cage door flew open. Dante reached in and pulled Riley out, so gentle despite his size and strength, cradling her like she weighed nothing. I got you, he said, his voice breaking. I got you, Nonna. You're safe now. I got you. Riley collapsed in her brother's arms and sobbed. The baby, she gasped. Dante, the baby's coming now. I can feel it. We need to get to the hospital. Dante laid her down gently on the garage floor, pulled out his phone with shaking hands, dialed 911. This is Staff Sergeant Dante Williams. I need an ambulance immediately. He gave the address. My sister is in active labor. She's bleeding heavily. She's been locked in a cage. Yes, you heard me right. A cage. This is a medical emergency and a crime scene. Send police too. He hung up and turned back to Riley, taking off his jacket and putting it under her head. They're coming. 5 minutes. You're going to be okay. How are you here? Riley whispered. You're supposed to be overseas. Mission ended early. I wanted to surprise you. Came straight from the airport. His face was wet with tears. Riley, who did this to you? She didn't have to answer because that's when they both heard it. The front door of the house opening. Footsteps walking through the living room. Marcus's voice calling out, casual and annoyed, Riley, you better have quieted down. I don't want to hear any more. He appeared in the doorway from the house to the garage. Saw the broken lock on the floor. Saw the open cage. Saw Riley on the ground. Saw Dante kneeling beside her. And Dante saw him. The two men locked eyes. Marcus's face went pale. Who the hell are you? Dante stood up slowly. Every muscle in his body was coiled tight, like a spring about to release. When he spoke, his voice was low and deadly calm. I'm her brother. Marcus's eyes widened slightly. You're supposed to be overseas. Well, I'm not. Dante took a step toward him. I'm right here. And I just found my pregnant sister locked in a dog cage in your garage. So I'm going to ask you one time, and you better answer real careful. Did you do this to her? Marcus's brain was working fast. Riley could see it. He was calculating, trying to figure out how to spin this, how to talk his way out. This is a misunderstanding, Marcus started, his voice taking on that smooth, reasonable tone he used when he was lying. She's been having psychological issues. Pregnancy hormones. She locked herself in there during some kind of episode and I couldn't find the key. Dante moved so fast Marcus didn't see it coming. 1 second he was standing by Riley. The next he had Marcus slammed against the wall, forearm pressed against his throat. Don't, Dante said quietly. Don't you dare lie to me right now. I saw her. I saw the blood. I saw the terror in her eyes. I heard her screaming for help. So you're going to tell me the truth, or so help me God, Dante. Riley's voice was weak but urgent. Let him go. The police are coming. Don't give him anything to use against you. Dante's jaw clenched. Every instinct in him wanted to hurt this man, wanted to make him feel a fraction of the pain he'd caused Riley. But he released Marcus and stepped back, his fists still clenched at his sides. Marcus stumbled, catching his breath, his hand going to his throat. And then his expression changed. The fear disappeared, replaced by something cold and calculating. You put your hands on me, Marcus said. That's assault. I have witnesses. The security cameras in this garage caught everything. Good, Dante said. Then they caught you locking my sister in a cage too. Marcus's face flickered, just for a second. Long enough for both of them to know he hadn't thought about that. Those cameras aren't working, he said quickly. Haven't been for months. Liar, Riley said from the floor. She was breathing hard, another contraction building. You checked them last week. You showed me the footage on your phone when you thought someone tried to break into the garage. Marcus's eyes snapped to Riley, and she saw pure hatred there. Shut your mouth. Don't you talk to her, Dante warned. This is my house. I'll talk to my wife however I want. Your wife. Dante's voice rose. You locked your pregnant wife in a cage like a dog and left her there to die. And you think you still get to call her that? Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. Marcus heard them too. Riley could see panic starting to creep into his expression, could see him trying to figure out his next move. Riley, Marcus said, his voice changing again, softer now, pleading. Baby, tell him this is a mistake. Tell him you're confused. The pregnancy, the stress, you're not thinking clearly. Tell him we can work this out. Riley stared at him, at this man she'd married, this man she'd trusted, this man who'd systematically destroyed her life and then locked her in a cage to die. I'll tell them the truth, she said. I'll tell them everything. You do that and I'll destroy you. I'll tell them you're mentally unstable. I'll tell them you're an unfit mother. I'll take that baby the second it's born and you'll never see it again. Dante moved toward him again, but Riley grabbed his leg. Don't. He's not worth it. The sirens were right outside now. Red and blue lights flashed through the garage windows. Marcus looked at the door, looked at Dante, looked at Riley. She could see him weighing his options, trying to calculate if he could run. Don't even think about it, Dante said. Heavy footsteps pounded up the driveway. Someone was banging on the front door. Police. Open up. Back doors open, Dante called out. Through the backyard. Seconds later, 2 officers burst through the backyard entrance, guns drawn, taking in the scene. The open cage. Riley on the floor, clearly in labor, blood pooling beneath her. Dante standing protectively over her. Marcus against the wall. What's going on here? The first officer demanded. Everyone started talking at once. My sister was locked in that cage. This man assaulted me. Please, Riley's voice cut through, stronger than it had been in months. Please, I need help. My baby's coming. The second officer, a woman, immediately got on her radio. We need that ambulance now. Active labor, possible complications. She knelt beside Riley. Ma'am, I'm Officer Rodriguez. Can you tell me what happened? My husband, Riley gasped, pointing at Marcus. He locked me in that cage. I've been in labor for hours. He left me here to die. That's a lie, Marcus said immediately. She's mentally unstable. She locked herself in there. I was trying to help her. Then why did my partner and I just watch you walk in from the front of the house? Officer Rodriguez asked, her eyes hard. If you were trying to help her, where were you? Marcus's mouth opened, closed. No answer came out. The first officer was examining the cage, the broken lock, the crowbar on the floor. Sir, I'm going to need you to come with me. I didn't do anything wrong. This is my house. She's my wife. This is a domestic matter. A domestic matter? Dante's voice was incredulous. You locked a pregnant woman in a cage. The ambulance screamed up outside. 2 paramedics rushed in with a stretcher and medical equipment. 28-year-old female, full-term pregnancy, active labor, Officer Rodriguez rattled off. She says she's been locked in that cage for hours. Significant bleeding. The male paramedic knelt beside Riley. Ma'am, I'm Chris. We're going to take care of you. How far apart are your contractions? Constant, Riley sobbed. No break. The baby's coming now. Okay. We need to move fast. Can you tell me when your water broke? Hours ago. I don't know how many. The female paramedic, whose name tag read Johnson, was checking Riley's vital signs. BP is elevated. Pulse is rapid. Ma'am, we're going to get you on the stretcher and into the ambulance. Your brother can ride with you. I'm coming too, Marcus said, moving forward. Dante blocked him. Like hell you are. She's my wife. That's my baby she's carrying. Sir, you need to step back, the first officer said, his hand moving to his belt. We need to ask you some questions. I have rights. And you'll have a chance to exercise them. But right now, you need to step back. Riley felt hands lifting her onto the stretcher, felt the straps being secured, felt the ambulance lights washing over her as they rolled her out through the backyard, past the broken gate, around the side of the house to the waiting ambulance. She heard Marcus shouting behind her, Riley, don't do this. Think about what you're doing. She heard Dante's voice, steady and strong, Officers, I want to press charges on behalf of my sister. False imprisonment, attempted murder, domestic violence, whatever you can throw at him. She heard the officer reading Marcus's rights. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. And then she was in the ambulance and the doors were closing and Dante was climbing in beside her, grabbing her hand. I'm here, sis. I'm right here. You're safe now. Riley squeezed his hand as another contraction hit. Through the ambulance windows, she could see Marcus being put in handcuffs, being walked to the police car, his face twisted in rage. The last thing she saw before the ambulance pulled away was Marcus screaming something she couldn't hear, fighting against the officers, looking like the monster he'd always been but had hidden so well. Then they were racing down the street, sirens wailing, and Dante was wiping tears from her face. And the paramedic was saying, we're going to have to deliver this baby en route. She's not going to make it to the hospital. What? Dante's face went white. The baby's crowning. This is happening now. Johnson was already setting up equipment, pulling on gloves. Ma'am, I need you to listen to me very carefully. When I tell you to push, you push. Can you do that? Riley nodded, terrified, exhausted, but feeling something else too. Hope. For the first time in months, she felt hope. Because Dante was here. Because Marcus was in handcuffs. Because she wasn't alone anymore. Okay, Johnson said. On the next contraction, I need a big push. Ready. The contraction hit like a wave. Push. Johnson commanded. Riley pushed with everything she had left, squeezing Dante's hand so hard she thought she might break it, screaming through the pain. Good. Again. Another push. She pushed again and again and again. I can see the head, Johnson called out. One more big push, Mama. Your baby's almost here. Riley gathered every ounce of strength left in her broken body, thought about everything she'd survived, everything this baby had survived, and pushed. And then she heard it. The most beautiful sound in the world. Her baby crying. It's a boy, Johnson announced, holding up a tiny, screaming, perfect baby boy. You did it, Riley. He's here. Riley sobbed, reaching for him. My baby. My baby. Johnson quickly cleaned him, clamped the cord, wrapped him in a blanket, then placed him on Riley's chest, skin to skin. And Riley wrapped her arms around her son and couldn't stop crying. He's here, she whispered. He's alive. We made it. Dante was crying too, his big hand gently touching the baby's tiny head. He's perfect, Riley. He's absolutely perfect. The baby's cries quieted as he felt his mother's heartbeat, felt her warmth, heard her voice. His tiny hand reached up, fingers spreading, and Riley caught it with her pinky. Hi, baby, she whispered. Hi, Zion. Mama's got you. You're safe now. We're both safe now. Chris was monitoring her vital signs, his face serious. "We need to get her to the hospital. She's lost a lot of blood. Possible complications from the delivery." The ambulance raced through the streets, but Riley barely noticed. She was lost in her son's face, counting his fingers, memorizing every detail, unable to believe he was real. He was here. He was alive. They'd both survived. "What are you going to name him?" Dante asked softly. Riley looked at her brother, this man who had crossed the world and kicked down doors and saved her life. This man who had never stopped protecting her even when she didn't think she needed it. And she thought about what this baby represented. Strength. Survival. God's mercy when she thought there was none left. "Zion," she whispered. "His name is Zion. It means God's fortress." Dante's face crumpled. He leaned down and kissed his sister's forehead. "It's perfect. He's perfect. And you're the strongest person I've ever known." The ambulance pulled up to the emergency entrance. The doors flew open. Doctors and nurses surrounded them, rolling the stretcher out, calling out medical terms Riley didn't understand. "We've got a postpartum mother. Significant blood loss. Potential hemorrhaging." They were rushing her through automatic doors, down bright hallways. Dante jogged alongside, refusing to let go of her hand. Someone tried to take baby Zion. "Ma'am, we need to examine him." "No," Riley held him tighter. "Don't take him. Please don't take him." "I'll go with him," Dante said. "Riley, I promise I won't let him out of my sight. But they need to make sure he's okay. You both need medical care." Riley looked at her brother, saw the promise in his eyes, and slowly loosened her grip. A nurse gently took Zion, promising, "We'll take good care of him, Mama. I promise." Then they were separating her from Dante too, wheeling her into a trauma bay. Doctors were swarming around her, someone was starting in 4, someone else was examining her, and voices were talking over each other. "BP dropping. Get 2 units of O-negative ready. Possible uterine tear." Riley closed her eyes, utterly exhausted, and let herself fall into the hands of people who were trying to save her instead of destroy her. For the first time in 9 months, she wasn't afraid. Whatever happened next, Zion was alive. Marcus was in custody. Dante was here. She'd survived. They both had. And that monster would never touch either of them again. Riley woke up in a hospital room filled with afternoon sunlight. For a moment, she didn't remember where she was or what had happened. Then the memories came rushing back. The cage. The labor. Marcus's face. Dante breaking the lock. Her baby's first cry. Her baby. Zion. Riley tried to sit up, panic flooding through her. "Where's my baby?" "Easy, easy." Dante was there instantly, standing from a chair beside her bed. "He's right here. He's fine. Look." He stepped aside and Riley saw a clear bassinet beside her bed. Inside, wrapped in a blue hospital blanket, was Zion, sleeping peacefully. Tiny chest rising and falling. Perfect. Riley burst into tears. "Hey, no, don't cry." Dante grabbed her hand. "You're both okay. The doctor said you lost a lot of blood, but you're stable now. They gave you a transfusion. And Zion is healthy. 7 pounds, 2 ounces. All his tests came back perfect." Riley reached toward the bassinet with her free hand and Dante carefully lifted Zion and placed him in her arms. The baby stirred, made a small sound, but didn't wake. Riley held him close, breathing in that newborn smell, feeling his warmth, his weight, his realness. "I can't believe he's here," she whispered. "I can't believe we made it. You're a fighter, Nana. Always have been." Dante sat on the edge of her bed. "The doctors want to keep you both for observation for a few days. Make sure there's no infection, make sure you're healing properly. But they said you're going to be fine." "How long was I asleep?" "About 6 hours. It's almost 3 in the afternoon." "Have you been here the whole time?" "Of course. I told you I'm not leaving you." Dante's expression hardened. "And I've been making sure Marcus doesn't get anywhere near this room. Hospital security has his photo. If he shows up, they'll call the police immediately." Riley's stomach clenched. "Where is he now?" In custody. They arrested him last night. The district attorney already called me this morning. They want to talk to you when you're ready, but there's no rush. They have enough to hold him even without your statement. What do you mean? Dante pulled out his phone and showed her a video. The security cameras in the garage. They were working. The police pulled the footage. Riley watched the screen, her heart pounding. The video showed everything. Marcus dragging her into the garage. Shoving her into the cage. Locking it. Taking pictures. Turning off the lights. Walking away. All of it time-stamped, clear as day. He forgot, Dante said quietly. The cameras auto-upload to cloud storage. He couldn't erase them even if he tried. Riley closed her eyes. Good. There's more. The police searched his phone. Found all the text messages between him and his mistress. Found the photos he sent her of you in the cage. Found evidence of financial abuse, controlling behavior, everything. Simone. Yeah. The police brought her in for questioning this morning. Apparently, when she saw those photos, when she realized Marcus had actually locked you in a cage and sent her proof, she got scared. Started talking real quick. Told them everything. How long the affair had been going on. How Marcus talked about you. How she encouraged him to handle the situation. Dante's jaw clenched. She's being charged too. Conspiracy. Accessory to attempted murder. Riley felt dizzy. Attempted murder. That's what the DA is going for. Locking a pregnant woman in labor in a cage, denying her medical care, leaving her to potentially die. That's attempted murder, Riley. He could be looking at 25 years to life. Over the next few days, Riley stayed in the hospital recovering. Dante barely left her side. He slept in the recliner chair, ate hospital cafeteria food, kept watch like a soldier guarding something precious. The police came and took additional statements. The district attorney, a woman named Angela Freeman, spent hours going through Riley's testimony, preparing her for what the trial would look like. The media attention was overwhelming. Reporters tried to get into the hospital. Riley's story was trending on social media. A GoFundMe someone started for her and Zion had raised over $500,000. Strangers sent flowers, gifts, letters of support. A women's advocacy organization reached out offering free legal services and counseling. A domestic violence shelter offered resources and support groups. A therapist who specialized in trauma volunteered her services. The outpouring of support was almost as overwhelming as the trauma had been. On the third day, Angela came with news. Marcus's lawyer just contacted us. He wants to make a deal. Riley's stomach dropped. What kind of deal? He'll plead guilty to false imprisonment and domestic battery in exchange for a reduced sentence. 12 years instead of 25. No. The word came out hard and fast. Absolutely not. Riley, I should tell you, going to trial is risky. Defense attorneys can be brutal. They'll try to paint you as a liar, as someone seeking attention. They'll bring up every fight you and Marcus ever had and try to make it seem mutual. I don't care. He locked me in a cage while I was in labor. He took pictures and sent them to his mistress. He left me there to die. 12 years isn't enough. Angela smiled. I was hoping you'd say that. Because I don't think it's enough either. We're going to trial and we're going to make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of monster Marcus Carter is. The trial date was set for 6 months out. In the meantime, Riley was discharged from the hospital and moved into Dante's apartment with baby Zion. It was strange living with her brother again after so many years, but comforting. Dante baby-proofed the whole apartment even though Zion was only a few weeks old. He got up for night feedings when Riley was too exhausted. He changed diapers and did laundry and made sure Riley ate and rested and healed. Slowly, day by day, Riley started to feel like a person again instead of a victim. She started therapy. In their sessions, Riley unpacked everything. The grooming, the isolation, the abuse, the terror. Her therapist helped her understand that what she'd experienced wasn't just domestic violence. It was systematic psychological torture designed to break her down completely. Riley also started attending a support group for domestic violence survivors. Hearing other women's stories, realizing she wasn't alone, was both heartbreaking and healing. The GoFundMe money gave Riley financial breathing room she'd never had. She put most of it in savings for Zion's future, but used some to buy necessities. She also used some to hire a lawyer to start divorce proceedings. She wanted every legal tie to Marcus Carter severed as quickly as possible. The trial finally came. The courthouse was packed. Media trucks lined the streets. Security was tight because of death threats Marcus had been receiving. Riley walked into that courtroom wearing a simple blue dress, her hair pulled back, Zion at home with a babysitter Dante had personally vetted. She held her head high as she passed Marcus's table. He looked different than she remembered. Thinner, older. The confidence and charm were gone, replaced by something desperate and mean. When their eyes met, Riley didn't look away. She stared right at him, and she saw him flinch. The trial lasted 2 weeks. The prosecution presented the security footage from the garage. The courtroom gasped. Several jurors wiped their eyes. They presented the text messages between Marcus and Simone, read them aloud in open court. The jury's faces grew harder with each message. They presented Riley's medical records showing the blood loss, the trauma, the near-death experience. They brought in experts to testify about psychological abuse and coercive control. They brought in Riley's former boss, who testified that Marcus had pressured Riley to quit. They brought in Keisha, who testified about how Marcus had systematically cut Riley off from everyone. The courtship, the marriage, the gradual control, the isolation, the pregnancy, the cage. Marcus's lawyer tried to shake her, tried to make her seem unreliable, tried to paint Marcus as a victim. But Riley didn't break. She answered every question calmly, clearly, with the truth. Dante testified too, describing what he saw when he found Riley. Even the paramedics testified, describing Riley's condition, how close she came to dying. The defense tried to argue that it was a misunderstanding, that Marcus had been trying to help Riley during a mental health crisis. But the security footage made that impossible to believe. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. When they came back, the foreperson stood and read the verdict. On the count of attempted murder, we find the defendant guilty. On the count of false imprisonment, we find the defendant guilty. On the count of domestic battery, we find the defendant guilty. On the count of child endangerment, we find the defendant guilty. 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 Marcus's face crumpled. His lawyer put a hand on his shoulder, but he shook it off. Riley sat perfectly still, Dante's hand in hers, and felt a weight lift off her chest that she'd been carrying for over a year. At sentencing 2 weeks later, Riley read a victim impact statement. Marcus Carter tried to erase me, she said, her voice steady and strong. He tried to turn me into nothing, into property he could control and discard when I became inconvenient. He locked me in a cage like I was less than human. He left me to die. He left his own child to die. But we survived. And now I stand here free and whole while he faces the consequences of his actions. I hope he spends every day of his sentence thinking about the woman he tried to destroy but couldn't. Because I'm stronger than he ever was. I always was. The judge sentenced Marcus Carter to 32 years in prison with no possibility of parole for at least 25 years. Simone got 7 years for conspiracy and accessory charges. When the gavel came down, Riley felt tears streaming down her face. Dante pulled her into a hug. It's over, sis. It's really over. 18 months later, Riley stood in the lobby of Zion's Hope, the non-profit shelter and resource center she'd founded. The building was bright and welcoming, with soft colors and comfortable furniture and toys for children. There were bedrooms upstairs for women who needed emergency housing. Downstairs was a medical clinic, a legal aid office, a therapy center, and a playroom. Zion, now 2 years old, toddled around the lobby, babbling happily. Dante was there, having just returned from another deployment, swinging Zion up onto his shoulders. The front door opened and a young woman walked in, hesitant, eyes darting around nervously. She was heavily pregnant, maybe 7 months, and had a fading bruise on her cheek. Riley recognized that look. The fear, the uncertainty, the desperate hope that maybe, just maybe, someone would help. Riley walked over, her smile warm and genuine. Hi, I'm Riley. Welcome to Zion's Hope. You're safe here. The woman's eyes filled with tears. I didn't know where else to go. You came to the right place. Come on, let's get you somewhere comfortable and you can tell me what you need. As Riley led the woman toward the intake office, she glanced back at Dante and Zion. Her brother gave her a thumbs up. Her son waved his chubby little hand. Riley smiled. She'd survived hell. She'd given birth in a cage. She'd faced down her abuser in a courtroom and won. And now she was helping other women do the same. Marcus had tried to reduce her to an animal, tried to break her completely. Instead, he turned her into a survivor. And her brother had reminded her of something she'd forgotten during those dark months trapped in that beautiful house. She was never alone. She never had been, and she never would be. Because family, blood or chosen, was the strongest force in the world. And love, real love, not the twisted version Marcus had sold her, was unbreakable. Riley Thompson had been locked in a cage, but she'd unlocked herself. And now she spent every day helping other women find their own keys. That was her purpose. That was her promise. And she would keep it for the rest of her life. If you or someone you know is experiencing abuse, please reach out. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is 1-800-799-7233. You are not alone. Thank you for watching. If this story touched your heart, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Drop a comment below telling us where you're watching from and what lesson spoke to you most. Share this video because it could save a life. See you in the next story.